Washington, D.C. Under the early morning sun, the political atmosphere tense as a guitar string during the Trump administration. Caroline Leavitt, 27, the youngest White House press secretary in history, emerges from her car, her eyes filled with fierce determination. Today, she makes her way to federal court for a public trial concerning allegations of abusive power from the previous Biden administration. This presents an opportunity for her to voice her criticisms of Joe Biden, whom she and Trump's camp regard as a significant failure for the country. Outside the courthouse, a crowd of enthusiastic supporters brandish banners and chant fervently while law enforcement works diligently to uphold order amidst a surge of dissenting demonstrators. Before we embark on this narrative journey, please share your location in the comments and remember to subscribe to stay updated with the latest tales. Judge John Hargrove, a man in his 60s with silver hair and thin-framed glasses, sits elevated behind the bench, his expression as unyielding as granite. With a decisive motion, Hargrove brings his gavel down on the desk, the sharp crack echoing through the room as he stands appointed by Biden to protect a legacy that Caroline and Trump's faction are intent on dismantling. The courtroom is now in session, he proclaims, his voice resonant and authoritative. We are here to examine claims of misuse of authority related to the former administration's immigration policies. He casts a quick look at Caroline, a brief shadow of discontent passing over his features as she stands, poised to address the room. Caroline approaches the podium with purpose, her high heels clicking against the floor, each step a quiet proclamation of intent. While she may not hold the title of lawyer or official witness, her role as White House press secretary positions her to articulate the Trump administration's perspective. With a deliberate clearing of her throat, she meets Hargrove's gaze before shifting her focus to the audience. The Biden administration swung the gates of America wide open, she starts, her tone cutting like a knife. They allowed countless undocumented individuals to enter, resulting in increased crime, drug issues, and additional challenges for our community. This wasn't a matter of policy, it was an act of betrayal. The courtroom buzzes with whispers. Some journalists jot down notes with great intensity while others engage in hushed conversations. Hargrove strikes his gavel once more with increased force. "Miss Leavitt," he interjects, his voice carrying a note of caution, "this is a courtroom, not a platform for grandstanding. Focus on the precise accusations." Yet Caroline remains unfazed, presenting a subtle, frosty smile, one that anyone who's encountered her on screen would recognize. "I am speaking the truth, sir," she replies, her voice unwavering and resolute. "The allegations stem from Biden's immigration policies, and I will not hesitate to highlight that fact." Hargrove clutches the bench with intensity, his gaze sharpening. "Once more, I must emphasize the importance of not misleading this court. Uphold order and respect," he asserts, his tone lowering ominously. However, Caroline is resolute and will not yield. She inclines toward the microphone, her voice elevating just a touch. "Honor. I hold in high regard the American individuals who have endured the consequences of the previous administration's unfortunate choices. I am here to advocate for them, not to seek approval from anyone present." A faint cheer rises from a corner of the audience where a cluster of Trump supporters has managed to blend in. Hargrove strikes his gavel with increasing fervor, his complexion deepening in hue. "Stillness," he shouts, but the sound only intensifies as the crowd outside starts to chant, "Trump, Trump." Caroline captures the instant, gazing intently into Hargrove's eyes. "You can strike the gavel all day long, but the truth remains unchanged," she asserts, her voice sharp and piercing. "The Biden administration has faltered, and individuals like you, remnants of that era, are merely attempting to sustain a deteriorating legacy." The courtroom hums with increasing intensity as several reporters activate their live cameras. Hargrove stands up, gesturing towards Caroline. "Miss, embrace it, this is your last warning," he bellows. "One more word out of place, and I will resort to more decisive actions." The atmosphere is thick with anticipation, lenses focused intently on her. Caroline clutches the edge of the podium, inhales deeply, and resolves to deliver the final, impactful statement. "I refuse to remain quiet." Her voice rises, piercing through the clamor with a sharp clarity. "Joe Biden has betrayed the nation, transforming America into a sanctuary for crime and unlawful immigration." She takes a moment, allowing her words to permeate every corner of the room. "He wasn't a leader, he was a monumental disaster, and individuals like you, Judge Hargrove, are merely instruments upholding that disgraceful legacy." The courtroom erupts with intensity. A segment of the audience, fervent supporters of Trump, spring to their feet, applauding and exulting, while a contrasting group, predominantly left-leaning journalists, vocalizes their dissent. Hargrove pounds his gavel with fervor, the noise echoing like thunder, his expression a portrait of fury. That's sufficient. He erupts, leaping to his feet and jabbing a finger directly at Caroline. Miss Leavitt, your actions have breached all standards of decorum in this court. I find you in contempt and impose a fine of $100,000 effective immediately. His voice quakes with rage, yet his gaze betrays a determination to set a precedent with her. This is not an appropriate setting for disparaging a former president or anyone else for that matter. He settles back into his seat, breathless, gripping the gavel tightly as though it's the sole anchor in a turbulent sea. Caroline remains steadfast. She smiles, not with a victorious grin, but with the icy smirk of a fighter aware that she has just ignited a spark. She retrieves her phone from the pocket of her blazer, activates the live stream feature on X, and raises it high. Citizens of America, she states, her tone steady and commanding, what have you just observed? I am facing a $100,000 fine for having the audacity to express my views on Joe Biden, a figure I believe has compromised our nation. This demonstrates that the current administration is attempting to suppress our voices. The courtroom cameras pivot towards her, lenses honing in on her determined expression while the phone streams the moment live. Viewership on X surges, reaching 10,000, then 50,000 in mere seconds. The audience beyond absorbs her voice through the reporters' microphones, and their applause rises like a powerful wave. Caroline, Caroline, they cry out, striking the courthouse glass with fervor. Inside, Trump supporters rise to their feet, clapping enthusiastically while a small group on the left expresses their discontent with boos, calling out, "You're a wrecker." Hargrove strikes his gavel once more, yet the clamor escalates into chaos. "Quiet," he shouts, his voice raspy. "If order isn't restored, I will ensure everyone is removed," yet no one seems to heed my words. A journalist from the sidelines calls out, "Miss Leavitt, will you take back your statement?" Caroline pivots, locking eyes with him through the livestream camera. "Withdraw? I will never withdraw the truth," she responds, her tone unyielding and sharp. Hargrove, his complexion now a deep shade of purple, gestures towards a nearby bailiff. "Document the decision, $100,000, and Miss Leavitt will settle before her departure." He pivots toward her, his gaze aflame. "Do you really believe you can transform this courtroom into a spectacle? Prepare to witness the price of hubris." However, Caroline remains unresponsive. She inclines toward her phone, engaging with the live stream. "Look at this. This is the way they shield Biden through fines, threats, and efforts to silence us. Yet I feel no fear, and you ought to feel the same." Audience numbers soar beyond 100,000, with a deluge of comments pouring in. Caroline emerges as a hero. Disrupt Biden's framework. Within the room, several attorneys exchange glances, quietly discussing the legitimacy of the fine. One murmurs, $100,000 is extravagant. Hargrove is unraveling. A different journalist glances at a fellow reporter. She has transformed this trial into a stage for political conflict. Yet Caroline remains unfazed by the murmurs around her. She stands confidently, her eyes locked on Hargrove, challenging him to escalate the situation. Outside, the relentless banging on the doors grows louder, and a police officer bursts in to deliver a report. "Sir, the situation with the crowd is escalating. We require additional support." Hargrove inhales deeply, his hand quivering as he clutches the gavel tightly. He realizes he's gone beyond the limits, yet he feels unable to retreat. "Miss Leavitt," he states, his tone descending into a chilling ultimatum. "This will come at a cost, and it won't be measured in mere currency." Caroline arches an eyebrow, continuing her live stream. "Compensation? The consequences will fall on you when the American people uncover the reality of the system." She faces the courtroom audience, raising her phone aloft. "Who is by my side?" The federal courthouse vibrates with the echoes of shouts and the authoritative strike of Hargrove's gavel. Yet Caroline Leavitt maintains her gaze on the phone streaming live. The clock strikes 10 a.m. and she finds herself facing a hefty fine of $100,000 for labeling Joe Biden a traitor and a catastrophic failure. Hargrove slumps into his chair, his expression clouding over, gripping the gavel tightly as if he intends to shatter the atmosphere around him. Yet Caroline offers him no relief. She elevates her phone, her voice resonating through its small speaker. "Citizens of America, this is our time to elevate ourselves. They penalized me $100,000 for expressing the truth. Yet I would prefer to pay than remain voiceless in the face of this corrupt system." Viewership on X skyrockets, reaching 250,000, then 300,000 in mere seconds. Responses pour in. "Caroline is our voice." Hargrove subordinate to Biden. Supporters of Trump listen to her via the phones of reporters outside. their chants transformed into a fierce surge. Dismantle the establishment. Bring the system to its knees. They bellow, pounding against the glass doors. Supporters of Trump stand tall, fists in the air, as those on the left shout in response, calling them disruptors. Hargrove strikes his gavel with fervor, his voice cutting through the chaos, insisting on order. Yet no one pays attention. The clamor has spiraled out of control. Caroline faces Hargrove, her gaze unwavering. "You can find me," she says, her voice sharp and cutting. "However, it's impossible to impose fines on the entirety of America. Countless eyes are upon you, observing your true self. An advocate for Biden's unfulfilled promises." She articulates each word with precision, aware that every sentence stokes the political flames she is kindling. Hargrove gestures towards her, his voice trembling with fury. "Miss Leavitt, please be quiet, or I will have no choice but to call the authorities immediately." Yet the menace only prompts her to laugh even more heartily, the sound reverberating through the live stream. "Go ahead, arrest me, all you'll do is validate my point." With viewership surpassing 400,000, a reporter leans into her colleague, revealing that she has just cast Hargrove as the villain in real time. As Caroline forges ahead, a short distance away at the Justice Department headquarters, Pam Bondi sits before a large screen, observing Caroline's live stream with a determined gaze. During her tenure as Attorney General under Trump, Bondi has been monitoring Hargrove for several months. The Department of Justice possesses an extensive dossier on him, with confidential FBI documents revealing that he unlawfully penalized conservative officials in trivial matters, clearly showing a bias towards the left. However, they refrained from taking action as there was no compelling public impetus. As Bondi listens to Hargrove impose a $100,000 fine on Caroline and threaten her with arrest, she realizes that the pivotal moment has finally come. "This marks the turning point," Bondi whispers, standing up from her seat, her black suit radiating power. She pivots to an aide close by, her tone resolute. "Retrieve Hargrove's arrest warrant, the one we prepared last week, and contact the U.S. Marshals, please prepare to be ready in 5 minutes." The assistant acknowledges with a quick nod, rushing out while holding a phone to his ear. Bondi walks confidently to her desk, flipping open Hargrove's investigation file. The pages outline numerous occurrences ranging from peculiar penalties imposed on conservative activists to the disregard of evidence in legal actions against the Biden administration. "He believed he was invincible," Bondi murmurs, turning the page to a report about Hargrove imposing a $50,000 fine on a Republican lawmaker for contempt, lacking solid justification. Today marks the conclusion of that. She picks up her phone and dials the U.S. commander of the marshals stationed close to the courthouse. "Hank, it's Bondi," she states, her tone both subdued and incisive. "Hargrove has imposed a hefty fine of $100,000 on Caroline Leavitt for her criticism of Biden and has even issued a threat of arrest against her. An arrest warrant has been issued for abuse of power stemming from the investigation. I need your team at the courthouse immediately." Hank comes through with a crackle. "We're just 3 minutes away, Madam Attorney General, the warrant is prepared." Bondi casts a quick look at the aide as they approach with the signed document. With a decisive snap of the file, she responds, "Move quickly, I'm heading out." At the courthouse, Caroline stands resolutely at the podium, the live stream flowing uninterrupted. "They may seize my funds," she asserts to her audience, "but they cannot silence our voices. Hargrove and Biden's system is quaking. Can't you understand?" A journalist calls out, "Miss Leavitt, will you cover the penalty?" She pivots, a sly smile playing on her lips. "Pay it and I'll display that receipt like a badge of pride, showcasing the value of honesty for all to witness." The audience erupts in applause, overshadowing Hargrove's gavel. He rises once more, gesturing towards the bailiff. "Document that if Miss Leavitt continues to be disruptive, I will have no choice but to call for her arrest," but his statement is interrupted by the sound of the glass doors shaking from the force of the crowd outside. Bondi, having departed from the DOJ, climbs into a sleek black SUV accompanied by 3 security personnel. She glances at her watch, noting the time. 3 minutes, she informs the driver. Was her voice cold? Hargrove remains unaware of the impending events. Inside the car, she pulls out her phone and tunes into Caroline's livestream. Over 500,000 viewers tune in, with comments calling for justice and the return of Trump. Bondi offers a subtle smile, not out of happiness, but aware that this moment represents an opportunity for Trump's administration to convey a powerful message. Hargrove has sealed his fate by crossing Caroline, and she will ensure his downfall. At the courthouse, Caroline elevates her phone, her voice resonating to countless devices. "We refuse to submit to this system," she exclaims. They may try to intimidate, but our numbers give us the upper hand. We possess greater strength. Hargrove confronts Scarlett, exclaiming, "Enough, Miss Leavitt." Yet, before he can deliver another command, the courtroom doors tremble ominously. Caroline halts her words, pivoting her gaze. Hargrove hesitates, gavel firmly grasped. All attention shifts to the doors as Pam Bondi enters, commanding the room with her formidable presence. The Attorney General, dressed in a sleek black suit, makes her presence known with each confident step on the wooden floor. Behind her, for American soldiers, marshals clad in dark uniforms trail behind, hands resting on their holsters, their eyes surveying the scene with a chilling intensity. In Bondi's grasp lies a document, the arrest warrant stemming from the DOJ's secret investigation into Hargrove. She halts in the middle of the aisle, her voice soft yet impactful. "Judge John Hargrove, I am Pam Bondi, U.S. Attorney General. The department possesses substantial evidence regarding your misuse of authority and political partiality in various cases. The $100,000 penalty imposed on Miss Leavitt today was the final tipping point. Your arrest is hereby ordered, effective immediately." The courtroom stills for a moment, then bursts into chaos. Supporters erupt in cheers, jumping with enthusiasm, fists raised in the air, calling for justice, justice. A handful of reporters shout, their cameras whirring to capture Bondi and Hargrove in close detail. Hargrove remains frozen on his bench, gavel clutched tightly, his mouth hanging open in utter astonishment. "Excuse me?" He falters, his voice quaking. "This is an overreach of power. You lack the authority to detain me." Yet Bondi remains steadfast. She raises the warrant, the bold red seal catching the light in a striking display. "We hold the power," she responds, her tone as cold as ice. Numerous documents spanning hundreds of pages, unlawful penalties imposed on conservatives, and partiality evident in lawsuits against Biden. "You've crossed the line for far too long."